Greetings, Deep Dive Podcast listeners. This is your boy, Sam Oram, coming at you with another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. Guys, we've had such an incredible season 3 so far. We've talked about so many empowerment topics from, how to expedite your success and what does it mean to be successful? How do we kind of take some of the things and have some shortcuts to success? So it's all been about empowerment. Tonight's episode is no different. We have a guest tonight that is absolutely incredible. I had an opportunity to meet this guy and understand his vision for what success is, what he's doing, and I certainly wanted him to share his message of empowerment and business ownership. I wanted him to share that with our Deep Dive Podcast listeners. But before we get into our guest, I always like to thank all of our listeners from around the world. We have 172 countries that we air in. And we have so many people who follow us and really, support the podcast. And I always like to thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart, because without you, there would be no Deep Dive Podcast. So we're excited to continue to expand. I continue to ask you guys every week to like, subscribe, download, and share, because the bigger we create our audience, the more people that we can actually affect in a positive way. So thank you so very much for all of your support all over the globe. We've been talking about identifying entrepreneurs, people who are new, up and coming and emerging entrepreneurs, and how can we, as a part of a community of Deep Dive Podcast listeners, how can we benefit from what they're doing? Well, our guest tonight is extraordinary in terms of what he's doing. We're talking about our topic tonight: how do you build a business the right way? So many people have notions on what it means to build a business, but very few people know all of the details of what it means to build a business the right way. Well, our guest tonight has done that. As a matter of fact, he's continually doing it. And even more important for all of us, he's going to share some tidbits and wisdom with us in terms of what we need to do to build a business in a successful way. So I want to introduce to the Deep Dive Podcast audience an LSU grad. Now, being a Florida A&M alum and an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan, I won't hold it against him that he is an LSU graduate. But I want to introduce to some and present to others our guest for tonight, none other than Mr. Jeremy Reed. Jeremy, how you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. Thank you for having me, Sam.
Man, it's a pleasure. I know that, we've been talking about this podcast, and so many people have been asking me about what does it take to build a business and how to do that successfully. So I'm glad you were able to, get on the podcast tonight and just be able to share some things with us about how to build a business. But before we get into that, just tell our audience just a little bit about who Jeremy is, what it is that you're doing, and why so many people are excited about your vision.
Okay, I am a young businessman, young professional, very new in my career. And I've been working in entrepreneurship specifically with this virtual kitchen concept that I have for about 3 years now.
Okay.
Yes, so born and raised here in Louisiana, and still here in Louisiana, actually. I started this business journey with the mindset of developing an economic system, a sustainable economic system for myself. Traditionally the 9 to 5 it works, but you're kind of boxed in. So here's where my passion is in entrepreneurship.
Okay, that's good. So were you opposed? I know, opposed to a 9 to 5, or was your vision bigger than a 9 to 5? How did you, make that transition from understanding the industrial age of a 9 to 5 to where you are in terms of a business owner?
Yeah, so um, I I obviously graduated college 2019 and with the mindset of going straight into corporate world, and having had the business education, I was thinking, will it be easier for me to produce my vision uh, now that I'm young, before I develop some corporate career for myself, or will it be more difficult later or is it more difficult later once I have, established these bills and this life for myself that I have to sustain? So I jumped right in, which led me here.
Okay. No, that's good. I know you have a concept that we want to talk a little bit about, but I think for our audience, one of the questions that I get over and over again from our Facebook group is how to start a business. And then people will typically follow that up and say, I've done this and done that, but it just hasn't worked. Now, I have my own ideas in terms of what it means to start a business, but from your perspective, what are some of the nuances to getting started or creating a business properly from the very beginning, and especially from someone who's literally just a couple of years graduating from higher education? So, what are some of the fundamentals of getting started in a business properly?
Yeah, so most importantly, like for our community, the strategy is it's a bit different. For Black businesses, the rate of failure at about somewhere around 80%, versus our counterparts being somewhere between 30 and 40%, in the first 18 months to 24 months. So it's just very important that we have some type of strategy. I like to begin by telling people, like, whatever you have, you need to develop a feasible analysis. Like, how feasible is your concept? And there
Mhm.
needs to be a budget behind that thing. You don't want to just spin your wheels and spin your wheels. So, outlining your business plan, figuring out what your product or service is, who you're selling it to, your sales channels, all those things in the business plan. Financial statements, how are you funding it? Which is
Mhm.
like one of the most important pieces. Um, and back to what I said about particularly Black businesses, recognizing that there is unbiased access to capital for us, for Black businesses, Black startups, young people.
What do
Um,
you mean, Jeremy, when you say unbiased access to capital? Because I know the number one reason, like you said, people don't start business or even fail is capital. So what do you mean by that?
yes, yeah, absolutely. Um, Accessing that capital, it's different. Being able to convince a angel investor or venture capitalist to put the money up for your concept, given you have all the formalities together, there's a much smaller chance. But there's no business without the capital.
Right.
There's no growth without the capital. Um, and I think like being able to recognize you have specific ways in which you find that capital. Whether you're equity financing it, you're giving away stocks and pieces of your company for it,
Hmm.
crowdfunding, venture capitalists, personal financing, defining that specifically is very important. And then understanding that the road to getting there is going to be, maybe not exactly what you planned, um, as you begin to try to access that capital.
Right. Yeah, I can tell you through my own experiences, it's very difficult to get proper funding. But the one thing that I did find that was quite interesting is if you have a very sophisticated, well thought out, well structured business plan, then funds are there. You mentioned something to the effect of the failure rate in the Black community for getting financing and investors and the like. But one of the reasons that is the case is because a lot of people don't do their due diligence in terms of creating that business plan so that every little bit of that business plan is in order so that someone who is a potential angel investor, venture capitalist, bank, whatever it may be, they can actually see not only how they're able to get a return on that investment, but that business would actually be successful. What do you think some of the pitfalls are, with a Black-owned business, particularly because there being such a wide gap between, other communities and the Black community in terms of getting funding. What are some of the things that you see that may be pitfalls that we can kind of clean up, if you will, in the community and then help other people be more successful?
Yeah, well, I can tell you from firsthand experience, it's the generational education, the generational wealth. Obviously, money always has to come into it, but the generationally, the business mind frame, it's not necessarily passed down to us in our household. Or if it's, I can pick up a phone and call someone in the family, whereas our counterparts or other communities, um, that's already the mind frame in the family. So on top of not being able to access the information, you have this dynamic of, we're pushed to go to college,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to fight against that, the people who, love and support you, right? And want to see you do great things and want the best for you with the mind frame that the best for you is to position yourself for a 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
That's not realistic. It's not, the mind frame that um, that I want for myself. So I would say that's one of the hardest things. It's that generational business mind frame.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so when you're looking at it from that perspective, and that's a very good point. When you're looking at it from that perspective, let's just say, I'm in a situation, I'm already here, I'm looking to start my business, but, no one in my generation or previous generations even were positioned to pass down that wealth or even wealth knowledge. One thing I think that's important, especially from someone like yourself, like you said, you're new in business, you're a young guy, but you have that vision for entrepreneurship, is to create an environment for the future for generations yet unborn so that they can succeed at a higher level. Be able to position your business. Now, hear this, everybody. You want to be able to have a position that is transferable, a business, I should say, that is transferable. People would ask me, because a lot of people know I had a medical background, whatever the case may be. People would say, well, why would you not be in the medical profession and just do business? It's very simple for me. If you're a doctor or you're a lawyer or you're an accountant, you cannot pass your degree down to your kids. You cannot pass your degree or your education through generations, right? That's the difference
Yes.
between being rich and being wealthy. You cannot pass rich, you can only pass wealth. So you want to create an environment where when you're gone, your business survives you to the point that you're making and even multiple generations. So I think people should keep that in mind as they're building. Say, hey, look, if you're looking to empower generations yet unborn in your tree, then why not create an entity or an environment or a business, if you will? Because people get businesses confused with being a doctor or being a lawyer or being an accountant. Those are self-employed businesses. That means you have to be there. Someone has to work it. You don't
Yeah.
see patients, you don't see clients, you don't get paid. But if you're in a situation where you can create an environment and a business that can be passed down, I think that's a very good point that you made in terms of creating that generational wealth. What other type of business literacy or tips that you may be able to share with the audience, something tangible that we could use today, to continue to advance our business ventures?
Yeah. Really doing your research on your concept and knowing what's it going to cost you to get to profitability, developing that feasible analysis. Like, can I personally finance this thing? Do I need to go out and raise funds? You need to have a clear vision about that prior to. And even though I got a formal education, I was able to develop my own financial statement, sure. Um, there's always pieces, like there's so much more that I need to learn, and there's always pieces that um, specifically that you need to have some knowledge of prior to, so that you don't run into a brick wall and you're not spinning your wheels. um, Raising funds versus personally financing, know the advantages and the disadvantages of both given your particular situation. Personal financing isn't a horrible thing, um, But if you don't have that plan on the front end and you're doing the personal financing, business ventures, it's never always successful.
Hmm.
Most of the time it is a hit or it's a miss most of the times, honestly. You
Right.
take a piece of that and you move on into your next endeavor or whatever, you're up to, or if you're going to continue it, you take a piece of it, you move on. But if you don't have that financing part right, I would say how you're going to go about this capital thing, um, there may not be a next step in your adventure or whatever's next. You don't want to go there with a pile of debt on your shoulders. And you had other options. So I would say research, understand everything about the industry you're trying to go in. Whether you're innovating a concept or you don't need to try to fix what's not broken.
Hmm.
If it's already there and you're just going to add some type of special thing to it, something that differentiates you, which is what we call a value proposition. If you're going to do that to something that's already there, then you can take a business plan, the outline of it for the most part from another concept.
Hmm.
Um, versus it being an innovative concept. So really just define what are you doing, what's your product, um, and especially when you're trying to, in terms of raising your capital and financing it.
Right. Now, that's a very good point. You really have to do your research if you're going to self-finance, because like you said, you'll be in a situation where if it doesn't work out, then you put yourself financially in a worse position.
Yeah,
And that's certainly
yeah,
not what you want to do. And that research is so very important. And then you also have to be honest with here's what I see from a lot of people, and it's kind of funny, but a lot of times people, how can I say this politically correct? A lot of times people think more highly, is that a word? They think I can't even get it out because it's in my head, but I'm trying to say it without offending anybody. Let's put it
a
this
little
way.
narcissistic.
Yeah, well, let's put it this way. A lot of people think they can cook, but they really can't cook.
Okay, and they
Right?
get that. They get
Right.
that.
Right. A lot of people think they can cook. Oh, I got the best this, that, and the other dish ever. And then when somebody else eats it, it's like, oh, are you serious? Right. Well, a lot of people are the same way when it comes to business. They're like they have this greatest concept, or it's like the absolute best. And to an investor or someone of that nature, it's like, what are you talking about? This is rubbish. You cannot do this. So I think I said all that to say, to your point, I think that, a lot of times we have to be honest with our expectations and even our capacity. What is it that we can do? And just being honest. I tell people all the time, what I know and what I know that I can do, I do it extremely well. But I know what I know and I know what I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. And
And-
to
Go
play
ahead.
like devil's advocate to that, I think there's a fine line between, because how do you know like that you can do something for the first time if you haven't done it? You'll usually seek advice, and the people around you aren't necessarily in the mind frame to put you in the position that you want to be. So it's like, I think it's a fine line between, you do need to be realistic with yourself, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, but you also need to believe in your ability to do something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there is that realistic part of it, and of course, because there's money, time, and resources behind it, you have got to be realistic. Um,
Yeah.
but you need to believe in your concept for sure. You do have to be a little irrational sometimes, to get to where you're trying to be in terms of creating something new for yourself.
Yeah. I think for me though, I was feeding off the point you made in terms of doing your research. I'm a big believer in, I can do anything. Anybody can do anything. But the point I'm trying to make in reinforcing your notion is you got to do your research.
Yep.
Because when I ask people this question, and I ask these questions a lot because I've sat on boards as a angel investor, venture capitalist, and I ask people these questions. And as soon as they say, I feel, or as soon as they say, I think, or as soon as they say, I believe, those are red flags to me because it doesn't matter what you think or what you believe. What can you prove based on your research? You
Yeah.
know, someone may say, well, I believe cryptocurrency is going to blow up next year. Well, don't tell me what you believe. Tell me what your research says.
Yes. Yeah.
If your research says this, and then for me, if 1 + 1 = 2, it's like, oh, okay, I got it. I understand. So the point of it is the research. That's
Research.
that,
Yes.
and just being honest with that. Now, I do agree with you wholeheartedly that if you're passionate about something, no one can tell you that something won't work. They can't tell you that. Only you can tell yourself that based on your level of research, your level of sweat equity, what you're willing to commit and sacrifice toward that. All of these things are super important. And someone may not even know that I've been doing a business for a long, long time. And a lot of people believe in it, a lot of people don't, but they don't understand that, if I'm passionate about it, if I'm doing my research and doing my due diligence and 1 + 1 = 2, it's not going to fail. It's just to what degree it's going to succeed, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. In that research comes quantify, be able to quantify your concept, put it in numbers. Let me know, you know, a date, a time frame, when do we expect to receive a return on our investment? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in that research, you need to be able to, there goes that financial part, but you need to be able to quantify that. And that speaks to the feasibility of the concept.
Right.
Um, you're very passionate about something, then you sit down and you do that research. Do the research, and get the numbers. Figure out, yeah, return on investment. When's it going to happen and how is it going to happen?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Speaking of, I want to kind of transition a little bit. I know you have a virtual kitchen concept that I'm just dying to hear, what this is all about. And because this is something now, this is one of those things that I'm telling you, I don't have a clue like what a virtual kitchen is, what the concept is, how it works. Well, tell my audience, but also me, what is a virtual kitchen and what is your virtual kitchen concept?
Okay, well, coming from my background in entrepreneurship, I studied also web development and understanding the technological space that we are in. Um, I decided to integrate the technology with the food industry. And basically, these are online virtual food experiences, dining experiences that you receive from each brand. Um, each branded, you uh, partner with restaurants that are already cooking and offering a product, and they can offer one of our brands as an extra stream of revenue. No, well, minimal effect to their current operations. Everything's like on the back end. Everything is virtual. You basically take the orders from your existing kitchen, and the front end of that is that digital part, us creating an experience to the customers through online presence, through our ad, through our checkout process. Very innovative for the food industry, um, and especially given our current financial situation with interest rates and all that, and also that restaurants have very small margins that they operate on. I
Mhm.
thought it was a really good way to spend my time figuring out how do we position restaurants to actually, mom and pop shops to actually be on the other side of, an economic detour. How do we do that? By partnering up and by hooking them up to the digital world where people are at.
So let me make sure I'm clear. So you have a restaurant A, a mom and pop restaurant. They're already taking orders, whatever the case may be. So when they take an order, is it some type of way that they integrate with your concept to bring more orders to their restaurant? Is that how that works?
So ideally, we would use the supply that they already have in there and um, basically get rid of more of it, but by innovating it into a product. One of our brands, Paw Paw's Burgers, it's a burger only brand. So we would hook up with restaurants that are already selling burgers and give them a tablet. and that tablet would notify the kitchen when there's an order. They prepare the order. We give them our specific branded packaging. Um, and that kitchen, that restaurant works as a fulfillment center. They fulfill that order that came in through the pad and prepare it to be picked up for delivery.
Okay, I got it now.
Yes.
I
So
got it
that
now.
kitchen's a fulfillment center for our
Right.
product.
That makes sense. I got it. I told you I'm a little slow, so you have to work with me.
No, it's a weird, complex concept, and I think like a lot of restaurant owners ask, their biggest concern is, will this interfere with what I already have going on? You know, will that interfere with our brand? Like, what is it? How's it? You know, how this works?
Right. Okay. Yeah, that is innovative. So basically that was the key word for me, fulfillment. So you have your branded whatever's, and then they take the order and fulfill that utilizing your branded products.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
All right.
yes.
That's interesting.
And their
Uh
market isn't necessarily our market, isn't the market for that virtual brand.
mhm.
We attain the customers through paid ads.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's really interesting, man. I haven't heard of that concept. And I know when we talked about it a little bit, I was trying to just kind of wrap my mind around what does it actually mean. But when you shared that word fulfillment, it makes sense to me now. And, especially you being able to brand, your concept through these other restaurants. So is this is something that you've already started or you are getting it off the ground? Where are you in the phase process?
Yeah, we're running a beta test at our headquarter location with one brand. I'm building out currently three brands total, but
Okay.
this one burger brand and just seeing how the process works, running into the issues before we begin to franchise this thing out.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, we're in that beta testing phase now
Okay, that's
because it
good.
is a new concept. So, you know, there's only so much research you can do. At some point, you're actually, you know, putting out the research.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think I love the innovation. I love the forward thinking. It's the next step in the whole industry. So you ought to be applauded on that. Now, I did hear you
thank you.
say, something about Paw Paws Burgers. Now, me knowing I have a good friend that's from New Orleans. Matter of fact, I got a lot of good friends that's from New Orleans, and I've
Uh-huh.
only heard the pawpaw from Louisiana. Is that a Louisiana thing? The pawpaw
Probably,
burger?
probably so. Probably so. Um, yeah, this brand, the Papa's Burger specifically, it was a storefront that did not make it through the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah, and so you know, we took the brand virtual.
Ah, okay. Okay. That's
Yeah,
good.
so
Pawpaws.
it went down, but it went out. It went down to go out. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting, man. At some point I'm gonna have to check out a pawpaw burger next time I'm in Louisiana
Oh
somewhere.
yeah.
Well, I tell you what, that's really exciting, man. So if someone wanted to follow you or support you or just find out more of what you're doing, how would they do that? Is there a website, social media, anything that we can do to support?
Yeah, themodernmediafirm.com. And I'll give it to you to add links or whatever for
Okay.
people to, yeah, to check it out. There you can find more information about the kitchen concept, how you can partner with us. You can contact me from there and also get more details about the business services that I offer.
You said the modern media
Firm.com.
firm, themodernmediafirm.com. Okay, we'll make
Yes.
sure we, post that as well because we like to support businesses, especially from our guests who, they're supporting the podcast, supporting the Deep Dive Podcast Nation. So that's incredible, man. I tell you what, you are to be applauded at what you're doing.
Thank you.
I know we kid around a lot about you being an LSU grad, but you have that higher education and you're putting it to good use. You have that forward thinking concept, and it is incredible, whole kitchen concept, but just where you are as an individual, as a businessman, and understanding business literacy. I certainly appreciate what you brought to the Deep Dive podcast in terms of your knowledge, in terms of your wisdom and your forward thinking. Before we get out of here, is there anything you wanted
Thank
to
you.
share with the audience? Anything else that's on your heart? Any other tips? Anything before we get out of here?
Yeah. So I would say to young Black entrepreneurs, I can only speak from my own perspective, that there is not much influence and maybe not that voice around you, and maybe even working adversely against you around you and throughout this process, because it is a journey, a lot of downs and ups, but there's a lot of setbacks to once you have your formalities and your plan down, stay focused.
Mm,
Stay focused, block it out if you need to, tunnel vision, really get a visual aspect, a visual picture of what you want your future to look like, and don't allow anyone to detour you.
yeah, that's absolutely critical, man. And I appreciate you sharing that. And for all of our young entrepreneurs and all entrepreneurs for that matter, please take these tips to heart. Take these tips to, um, in terms of business literacy, in terms of just vision and the knowledge from someone who's had higher education, but now on the ground, building and utilizing these tools. Take these
Yeah,
things to heart. There is a step-by-step approach to success. There's a step-by-step approach to business. And, business is business and not business. So I want
right.
you to be able to understand it is business and not business. You need to
Yes.
have your articles of incorporation, your LLC or SOC Corp, whatever it may be, your tax ID, something else that a lot of people miss. And we're going to actually have a financial literacy course that's coming up soon. But a part of that in talking about business, some of the smaller things that people miss is being listing your business through the 411 system so that it is a legitimate address for your business. There's a legitimate phone number because when you're talking to investors, when you're talking to lenders of different kinds, they want to make sure that you're legitimate. If you don't have a business listing or telephone listing or a website or definitely your articles of incorporation, your tax ID, all of these things, if you don't have these things in order, there's absolutely no way any investor is going to risk their funds and invest in you. So all of these small things that we talk about are actually big things, and
They're
they're
big
very,
things.
very important. Yeah,
Yeah. Building business credit, all those things that you listed, the website, the phone number, 411 listing directory, email, business email, all those things come into play when you're trying to access capital, for
yeah,
instance. Yeah, so get those formalities down. There's a lot of resources out there. A lot of resources, through the pandemic, there's been so many like changes to the way we can access information.
hmm,
So get out there, do your research, invest in yourself. You have to put the money aside to invest in yourself, to pay someone to write the business plan or whatever. Don't be cheap.
right.
You need to get what you need to get, and people need to get paid to give you a good product.
That's right. Absolutely. Well,
Yes.
Jeremy, I appreciate that, man. You really brought a lot of wisdom and value to the Deep Dive podcast. I really appreciate all that you bring to the table, all that you bring in terms of your
Thank
wisdom
you.
and your vision for the future. We look forward to at some point, having you on again and letting us know how the virtual kitchen is going and what's going on with those Paw burgers.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
No problem, Jeremy. I appreciate that. And guys, remember we're going to post a link, but continue to follow and support Jeremy and his vision. And let's do it. Let's all of us work together, build a community together. Again, as I said earlier, I appreciate all of your support. Continue to like, subscribe, download, and share the podcast. The more you share, the more we'll have an opportunity to empower people and bring other people on, like Jeremy and some other people. We're going to talk about some things in the near future in terms of, the political environment, the social environment. How do we, work through the economic downturn? There's so many things that we need to talk about. So the more people we can get on the podcast, the more people we can empower. So with that, again, Jeremy, I salute you, my brother. I salute you. Continue to be successful. Continue with your vision. We're here. We love and support everything that you're doing. Thank you once again. And thank all of you for joining me on tonight's episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. God bless each and every one of you. And